Hello and welcome to my stamp studio. So today I am excited to share my new Class to Go kit featuring this beautiful Prized Peony bundle. So the bundle consists of the Prized Peony clear mounted cling label stamp set and the peony dies. And let me just take a chance to talk about the stamp set and the images and words that are included in it. So the sentiments that come with this set can be used nicely for sympathy cards, thinking of you cards, just a good general friend card. Your sweet friendship refreshes the soul, so sorry for your loss. Love and thanks to a dear friend, and then my thoughts are with you. Also included in this stamp set are some beautiful floral images, which are that distinctive style, which means they have a little more detail in them and just make them absolutely stunning. So you have kind of an open peony with a little bud here on a branch. You have a little small flower peony here, a little bit more of an open medium-sized flower peony there, two little leaf stamps in this, and then also, I don't know if the camera can see that or not, but it's a little small kind of design element stamp in diamonds that coordinates with the embossing folder in this suite. So it rounds it out to a 10 stamp set, okay? Coordinating with it are the peony dies. And when I first opened this up, I could not believe these dies. I looked at them and thought, what the heck are some of these? So to kind of make a little more sense of it for you, I'm going to go through the ones first that actually coordinate with a stamp, okay? So when I come over here, I have this one here, and I have this one here, and both of those coordinate with the little bit smaller floral and the little bit medium open floral here. And then if you go to this one here, this larger one, and then these two little smaller dies here, those coordinate with the larger flower bloom here on the branch, and then the two little leaf stamps here, okay? Now, that's all the dies that coordinate with the stamps. You also receive this nice border die here that gives you a nice little scalloped edge, also gives you a nice little embossed edge along that scallop as well. And then the rest of these, this one, even this little small one here, this one, and this one, I think some of them look like a cupcake almost, but all four of those and this little small fifth one make a beautiful paper peony flower. And I'm going to show you that here in just a little bit. In addition to the flowers, you also receive 6 little dies here that create a layering little leaf. Okay, and I'm going to show you those here in just a little bit too. So obviously you get a lot of dies in this bundle. Okay, so this bundle is part of the Peony Garden Suite of products. And if you haven't had a chance to look at these in your catalog yet, on pages 82, 83, and 84, take time to look at this. It is absolutely gorgeous. When I first saw it, I kind of was like, really? It's not really the color of a peony like I think. I think of like the bright reds and pinks and even white, and there's a yellow peony. But these are much more sophisticated. They have this beautiful, elegant look about them, and I've obviously fallen in love with them. So let me go through some of the products that are included in this suite. And the first product I wanted to show you was the Peony Garden Designer Series paper. Okay, so the colors that coordinate with this DSP are gray granite, which is very obvious in this print of this paper. You also have the pale pink, petal pink, sorry, it's petal pink, which is just kind of a little bit of a subdued pink. Again, this has another little floral peony image on it. Here's another, I love this one, these peonies on a stem in here, that's with the gray granite. And then you also have some of the grays. You have smoky slate, and this is just a little bit of a design paper to use as an accent paper. This one again is the gray granite, beautiful, simple floral. Here's some of the pale pink, again a little textured paper that would be used as a great accent. Same with this one, the gray. This kind of goes a little bit with the embossing folder with this suite. Then I love this one, all these little peony buds. I just think that's so sweet. Another little design element paper that would be good as an accent. Here's another in the petal pink of just a white peony floral image on there. And then this is kind of cool, just kind of a marbled look. Obviously goes very well with this paper. And then this last one, which is actually one of my favorites as well, this beautiful open, some kind of half opened, but very realistic looking peonies on this paper. Okay, so that's the designer series paper that goes with this suite. I also want to show you the embossing folder here, and that is the Dainty Diamonds embossing folder included in this suite. It's a 3D embossing folder, so if you have the Big Shot, you need your blue plate when you run this through. I went ahead and ran it through a piece of Pear Pizzazz, and I don't know if that's picking up or not, but it is quite pretty and actually does almost have kind of a little sparkle the way the embossed texture jumps out at you there. This is one of those embossing folders that I'm really enjoying the back side too. It has kind of a little diamond textured look to it, so it gives you a little bit more of a geometrical appearance too. So kind of an embossing folder where you're getting a 2-for-1, because I feel like both sides are really pretty. Another product in this suite are the square vellum doilies, which come in a pack of 24. And I went ahead and I pulled one out here, and I have it up against a piece of our basic gray cardstock just because I think you can see it just a little bit better. But obviously being vellum, it's sheer and can be added pretty much anywhere on your card and add that sophisticated, elegant look to it. Okay? Love these. Also included are the faceted elegant gems. And you have 3 different colors and designs in these. The ones on the far side here are just sparkly, shiny. The middle ones kind of coordinate a little bit with that petal pink color that's in this suite. And then the ones here on this side have kind of a little frosted. They're perfectly round, a little more flat, but have kind of a little frosted, shimmery look to them. This is a pack of 90, so quite a bit for your money here, and look good on lots of projects too, but obviously coordinate beautiful with this suite. And then to round out this suite is some ribbon, and this is the shimmer ribbon, which is in the gray granite color, so obviously coordinates beautifully with this suite of products. Okay, now I need to mention here that while all the products in this suite are available to order, there are some that are back ordered. And I just wanted to highlight those so everyone knew. The stamp set and the dies, the Prized Peony bundle that I showed you here, the designer series paper, and the elegant faceted gems are all available to ship immediately. So if you were to place an order today, you would receive those within the normal 8 to 10 days, okay, of ordering. However, there are a few items in this suite that are back ordered, but orderable. So the doilies, the embossing folder are both back ordered until July 20th, and the ribbon is back ordered until August 10th. So you can put the codes in, you can order them, and they will start shipping on those dates. So July 20th is not that far away, and then August 20th will be here before we know it. So if you're like me and you love the entire suite, you know that you can order it under one item number or one code, okay? This time, because there are back ordered items in this suite, I don't suggest you doing that, because then all your products will be delayed in arriving to you. I would go through and order each of the products in this suite individually so that way at least you receive the ones that are immediately available to ship, and then the other ones will come to you as they are available on that July 20th or that August 10th date, okay? So if you have any questions about that, please feel free to ask me, okay? I also want to point out in this video, I want to take a chance to share again July's Stampin' Up! Bonus Days promotion. So for every $50 you spend in July, you earn a $5 coupon code that you receive in your email that you may use to spend in August. It's a great deal that adds up to a lot of free products. So you will definitely want to keep that in mind when you're placing your orders here in July. So I posted all the details of this great promotion at the top of my Facebook page. But again, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to contact me. All right? So now before I show you my Class to Go kit cards, let me show you a few other cards that I actually made with this suite of products, okay? Just to inspire you a little more. So the first one I have here uses that big bloom that's on the stem, and it's this one here. I have it on a piece of petal pink card base. I have a piece of smoky slate that I ran through the embossing folder there. And then I have a piece of watercolor paper back behind that I actually just did kind of a watercolor wash, and I believe I used Calypso Coral to do that. Made it a little bit darker than just that petal pink would have. The bloom itself, I used my Night and Navy ink pad, and I quickly put clear embossing powder over it to really give it that dark image there. And then this became a sympathy card, so sorry for your loss, with a little bit of the linen thread behind, and I threw on some of our champagne rhinestones on this, which I think coordinate with this suite of products beautifully as well. Now, not very many people know, but there are yellow peonies. I have one. So I decided to make a yellow peony card. Same stamp, colored. I watercolored this one, used some of the DSP as an accent, used the embossing folder over on the side, and put it on a Daffodil Delight yellow card base. Love this. Think this turned out really pretty. Used a little bit of Granny Apple Green to punch it up with that yellow, and then I used some of the gold faceted gems there. Here is one using the medium and the smaller peony stamps in this set. I again used some Night and Navy and threw over some clear embossing powder over the top of that, and then I just used a sponge to come in here with a little Calypso Coral and colored those in just a little bit. The leaves I did also with some embossing. I used Old Olive, I believe, and then just clear embossing powder over the top. Here is that little die that creates that little scalloped edge, which I think is pretty, and I don't think the camera picks it up, but there is just a little bit of an embossed look right along that scallop. This is petal pink run through the embossing, the Dainty Diamonds embossing folder, and then here are the faceted gems that come with this suite. Okay, all based on a Night and Navy cardstock base. This one uses the little bit smaller flower stamp that's in this stamp set, and I basically white embossed that on watercolor paper, and then I went in here with some watercolor and colored these in, so it gave it kind of a nice little soft pastel-y color there. And then threw in one of those square doilies here with a little bit of DSP, and again with the texture of that embossing folder that's in the suite, and then a few of the faceted elegant gems here as well. And I did use my blends and colored the clear ones just to make them pop and give them just a little bit more color. Okay, now this one's for my people who like to color. I took some of that DSP, remember I said the one that was my favorite that had all the little tiny peony buds, and I colored those in with my blends. I used the new Magenta Madness in color. I also used the Granny Apple Green, and then I went around all the surrounding areas and did the Mint Macaron blender just to make them pop a little bit more off that page, and then based it on a Mint Macaron card base. I think this turned out beautiful. I have a little bit of a doily over here. I actually cut those in half. I've been cutting them in half, cutting them down diagonally, and using them that way. And I think that just adds a little bit extra something over there on that side, okay? So actually turned out one of my favorite cards. When I started this, I had no idea how it was going to turn out, and it turned out to be one of my favorite cards here. This one's just kind of plain and simple here. Again, just showing off some of the DSP and some of the ribbon here. I did use the champagne rhinestones on this one because it kind of went with the little peony bud, which I just isolated from the stamp and the die over there on the side, okay? And then this last one actually creates the paper peony flower here, okay? And I'm going to show you how to do that here in just a little bit, but it's basically a bunch of layers that go together. I threw in one of the little lace doilies down here at the bottom, and then you're also seeing some of the leaves here, the double stamping or double dies there that you can layer on some of the beautiful DSP that are on top, okay? I'm going to show you how to do those here in just a minute, okay? So let me review my Class to Go kit and how it works a little bit. I'll kind of lay these out and you have a chance to kind of look at them a little bit more maybe while I'm talking. So with the purchase of the bundle, that's the Prized Peony stamp set and the peony dies, all the supplies that you need to create my Class to Go kit cards would be included in your mail out kit. And I guess instead of putting these out, I am going to show you here. These are my Class to Go kit cards right here. I tried to change up some of the colors a little bit. I went for kind of a little brighter pink over here, and then I used some of this Just Jade card base and changed up the colors just a little bit from the suite, which I think turned out really nice actually. So you would receive supplies to create 2 of each of these cards, okay? You would receive all the pre-cut and scored cardstocks, the papers, an envelope, the pre-cut ribbon, the number of embellishments needed to complete the kit cards. The Class to Go kit is actually free with the purchase of the Prized Peony bundle, but I do need to charge a $3 postage fee for mailing of the Class to Go kit, which will ship to you from me, while all your Stampin' Up! Products will ship directly to you from Stampin' Up! So how do you order? You contact me via email or message me here on Facebook when you're ready to order. You'll find step-by-step details on how to get your free Class to Go kit with this post, and if you have any questions, please let me know. I will also be offering some additional recommended Stampin' Up! Products for this Class to Go kit in what I call an add-on list. You can receive a 10% discount on these add-on products when you order them through me, meaning I must place the order for you and only with the purchase of the Prized Peony bundle. So the 10% discount is only available when your order is sent to me and placed by me. It's the only way I can give you the discount. It's a great way to pick up some of these great Stampin' Up! Products that you might not have in your personal stamp stash while receiving a discount and making it a bit easier to create the kit cards. So I will try and point out as many of these add-on items during my demonstration as I can. And they will also be listed with this post. So again, if you have any questions though about any of this, please don't hesitate to let me know, all right? So let's get to stamping. So I think I'm actually going to start with this card here. So when you receive your Class to Go kit in the mail, you would receive these supplies. What we're using here is the Just Jade card base. It would be pre-scored for you. This is 5.5 by 8.5. Sorry, scored at 4.25. I had a little blank for a minute there. Going to go ahead. It'll be scored for you. Use your bone folder to give yourself a nice crease. You're going to receive a piece of Whisper White, a little bit larger piece here, that is actually going to fit on the inside. And in addition, you're going to receive a little strip of this DSP And I'm going to go ahead and take my multi-purpose glue here, put a little bit of adhesive on there. And I gave you this so that you can put it at the bottom edge of your inside piece just to dress it up a little bit there. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use some of the new Stampin' Seal and give myself some adhesive there to be able to attach this to the inside. I am liking the new Stampin' Seal. It is a learning curve, so for those of you who haven't had a chance to order it or haven't gotten it yet, I encourage you to do so, but do keep in mind that it does take a little bit of a learning curve here, okay? So you'll also receive another piece of Whisper White right here. This is what we're going to be doing our stamping on, okay? So I'm going to pull in this larger stamp here that has the bloom with the branches and leaves, and I'm going to pull in my Night of Navy ink pad. Now, I think I've talked about this in past videos. I'm a little upset that Stampin' Up! Got rid of black embossing, but I'm finding ways to work around it. If you've attended my classes in the past, you know that you can emboss with our classic ink pads. You just have to work a little quicker, all right? So I have a little bit of clear embossing powder here, right, ready to use. And I'm going to take my bloom and I'm going to put it way over here on the left-hand side of this paper. And there's a reason why I'm doing that, and a reason why you should do that when you get your kit in the mail. Go ahead and give that a chance to really soak up that ink. Pop that off there, and right away, go ahead and put some clear embossing powder over the top of that. It takes a while for our inks to dry. So, not very long though, so don't diddle-doddle. And then take this with your embossing gun, and you're going to heat that up, okay? I'm going to give my gun just a little chance to heat up here just a little bit. I'm sorry. In the meanwhile, I am going to go ahead and just stick a little blotter down underneath that. When you're going to emboss, you also want either maybe your paper piercer, or I'm going to use my bone folder here just to hold that paper down so it doesn't blow away on you. And then you just take your embossing gun, hold it nice and steady right over the image and the embossing powder, and you will see it start to melt. And as you start to see it get shiny and melt, just keep moving your gun over the rest of the image, okay? Beautiful. So this is kind of my way to get away from not having black embossing powder anymore. Okay, this looks just as stunning in the Night and Navy as it does in black. In fact, it kind of adds a whole different look to it. Now for this particular project, I actually am going to need to stamp this again, and let me show you the original, because I thought it was fun not only to have this little flower bud here, but to also have another one coming off the top here. It really looks realistic to me. You know how peonies do that with all their little buds. So the reason I stamped this way over onto the left side of this paper is so that I had a little area right here that I could come in here. I'm just going to ink up right where that little bud is. And then I'm going to come over here. And while some of that stamped image might stamp off onto my blotter, all I'm really concerned with getting is that little bud on the paper, okay? Right like that. Again, quickly pour your embossing powder over the top of it. Tap off your extra. Hold your paper with something. And go ahead and heat that up. And even though you're not going to use the rest of that flower in the corner there, I would still go ahead and heat up that embossing powder. It will make a mess. We're going to run this through the Big Shot next. And if you don't, that embossing powder would make a mess on your plates as you run it through, okay? Okay, once you have that all melted, Then you are going to run that through the Big Shot using this die right here, okay? So you'll run that through that way. And then you're going to come around here, and all you're going to do is just isolate that little bud out. And that's all you need to do then to run that through your Big Shot to get that little bud. Now, when you go to run this through the Big Shot, I would suggest that you not run the whole thing through, okay? When you have your plate, I would take your plate and I would just stick your plate right there so that that little bud is included. And the only reason I tell you to do it that way is that, and then stop right here. Because if you don't, what happens is this part of the framelit that's sticking out here will embed down into your lower plate, and it will be kind of hard to get out. You might bend your die, and you don't want to do that. So you basically just run this through, stop once you hit that, run it back, and that way that's the only part that's going through your machine to get that little bud, okay? Really not that hard, but I hope that makes sense so that you don't ruin your die and have it embed into your clear plate, okay? Okay, so next is our fun part. We get to color these, okay? So I'm going to pull in my blends. I have the new in color, Just Jade in the light and dark, and then I also have the dark and light of the Petal Pink, okay? So the first thing I did was go in with my light Petal Pink, and I basically used the big tip and went in here and just colored the whole flower. The same thing with this little bud. I came over here with my light pale pink and I colored in the whole bud. Then I came in with my darker Petal Pink and I really highlighted some of those little petals. You know, on the bud, they're usually on those outer ones. And then here, I came in here, and like I said, these distinctive stamps basically do the work for you. You can see where any of those little detailed lines are. Go right in there and just highlight those with your darker color, okay? Same thing with the Just Jade. I came in here, I colored all these leaves in with the light Just Jade. And then don't forget your little leaves over here on your little bud, because we're going to need those. And then your darker one is the one I came in and I actually did the stem with the darker. I'm going really fast, so and then over here too on your other one over there, your darker one, okay? To finish it all up. Now, just because for the sake of time, I did do this ahead of time, okay? So then when you roll them out of your Big Shot, this is what you will have, all right? So you'll have this full one here, and then you'll have this little small bud, and you will have to come in here with your scissors, and you'll have to trim him out from the rest, okay? But very easy to do. Come over here and finish trimming off that stem, then come down here and trim that part off, and then trim that bottom part off there, okay? So then you end up with this little bud here, okay? And then here's your other one that you get, okay? Just love these colors together. Don't know if the camera is doing them justice, but I think they look beautiful together. Okay, so let's continue to keep creating and building our card now that we have those elements. So let's pull in some more of the kit items here. I have a piece of the DSP. I also have a piece of the Smoky Slate that you will run through the Dainty diamond embossing folder if you decide to purchase this suite and get that. Obviously, any embossing folder would work if you don't happen to have it or don't want it. And then I have another piece of the DSP. It's one of those design textured element ones. So I'm going to flip that one over. I'm also going to flip over my Smoky Slate, and I'm going to come in here with some dimensionals. And on the piece of DSP, I'm going to place 3 down the middle. And over here on this one, just to hold it a little bit better, it might be a little overkill, but I'm going to place 4, 1 in each corner here. And before I go to take those off, I want to attach this piece, okay? So on my sample again, this piece kind of goes right down the middle here, and then these two are going to be raised, so it kind of gives it kind of a nice dimensional look there back behind. I don't know if the camera is able to pick that up, but it gives it a nice little dimensional look here. So to achieve that, I want the Designer Series paper to be attached directly to the base of the card, okay? So I might bring in my little strip here just to kind of eyeball exactly where that's going to need to go, all right? So that way it's centered just right. But first I need to get some adhesive on it. So I'm going to pull in my Stampin' Plus here. I might go ahead and put, here we go, here's that learning curve again. I find I try to use it fast because snail, remember how we used to just zoop, 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 and just use it so fast? And you can't do that with the Stampin' Seal. You have to go quite a bit slower. Okay, so again, I'm just going to put that there just to kind of line it up so I have a good idea of exactly where this piece goes. And I'm spacing it top to bottom there. And now I can go ahead, peel off the backs of my dimensionals here and attach that over here to this far left side, just like that. And then do the same thing with my embossed smoky slate piece. And then that one is going to set over here to the right. And not only am I watching here, but I'm also watching top to bottom to make sure that these are lining up with that DSP as well, okay? Like I said, I'm not sure the camera's picking up on that, but these two popping up and the DSP is laying down there really offset a really nice dimensional look there, okay? So next we're going to attach our flower. And the flower I played around with, and I finally decided I liked it kind of towards the bottom. I left enough room for our sentiment down here, but I liked it just kind of crossing across that raised look a little bit. And to achieve that, all I did was just place a dimensional about right here behind the flower, and then a dimensional down here on the bud, okay? If you wanted to, you could come in here with your multi-purpose glue, even your Stampin' Plus, and put a little bit of adhesive on these leaves and even a little bit on the edge of that flower. But of course you don't want to put any here in that central area because you want that to be able to pop up throughout the middle of that card, okay? I found that placing a dimensional behind the flower and behind the little bud was plenty to hold this in place, okay? So just remember, it's paper, people. People think they need to use all this adhesive, and you kind of don't. Okay, so go ahead. We're going to place that here like that. And that's holding nicely there. Now our little bud, I did take and I placed it coming out up here. And this you can either attach with a little bit of multi-purpose glue, or if you wanted to use another dimensional, which I think I might, to give it just a little bit more oomph to pop up there. I'm just going to tuck that edge under and angle it a little bit there. I just think that looks really sweet coming off there and very natural because you have this one down here, right? And then you'll have two little pieces of white scrap. I shouldn't say scrap, they'll be cut for you just like this. I took the Love and Thanks to a Dear Friend out of this stamp set and did the Night of Navy ink with the clear embossing powder over the top of it. I layered it on another piece of white just to make it pop a little bit. And that's going to be our sentiment that goes down here towards the bottom. But underneath it, I thought it still needed a little bit of something, something. So I pulled out this beautiful sheer ribbon. So, and I'm so happy Stampin' Up! Has sheer ribbon back. We haven't had it for a while. But this is actually Pool Party. But it's so sheer and so light in color that when I held it up against here, I loved it with the Just Jade, and it almost looks like Just Jade. And so I thought it coordinated beautifully. And so just to give this card a little bit more interest, I went ahead and folded this ribbon in half. And on the back of my sentiment, I took some Scotch tape. Whoops, keeps wanting to twist on me there. Took a little bit of Scotch tape to hold it. Super easy. We have done this in class before. And you don't want too big a piece of Scotch tape. You want just enough to just kind of hold it there. Just like that. And if your Scotch tape actually happens to go over the edge, all you need to do is take your paper snips and come in here and snip that off. It's hard for me to see directly over the camera. There you go, like that. And then, so I have a loop at one end and I have the other two ends down here on this end. And then I'm going to take some dimensionals. And because this is going to go towards the bottom and it's going to straddle our two side pieces here, I do want to keep my dimensionals way at the ends, okay, of my piece here, okay? Go ahead and peel those off. And then I'm just going to take it, I think, and sneak that little petal of that bud right over the top there. And go ahead and put that like that, okay? Now I can take my paper snips and come over here and trim up the ends of my ribbon to give them a nice little edge there. And I think that looks really sweet underneath there. Now, if it seems like it's rocking a little bit or it's a little too wobbly there for you, obviously you can always take our handy dandy little glue dots and I can sneak one underneath and see if we can get that to stick a little better. Okay, so there's always, where there's a will, there's a way. It's between the ribbon and the dimensional that it's not sticking. So by sticking a glue dot in there, it really made it adhere a little bit better. All right, now to finish this card off, of course, we need to use some of the elegant faceted gems that come with this suite. I'm going to grab my little paper piercer tool here, and I'm going to pick up one of the pale pink ones because obviously that coordinates. And then I'm going to pick up some of these clear ones, but and a frosty one here, but I really want some that coordinate with that Just Jade. So as I mentioned, I can come in here with my Just Jade blend and I can color some of these in and be able to make them coordinate perfectly with my project. Okay, I'm going to place one over here. And then I'm going to place another one here. And I just love that subtle color that coordinates with not only the leaves in the stamp, but also your card base. So I think that turned out really pretty. Also the envelope I didn't take a chance to show you earlier is I just took that big bloom and I did it in the gray granite and I just stamped it right on the flap of that envelope just to make it a little more elegant, a little more pretty. Okay, remember my new thing about decorating envelopes. I'm getting lazy. So, okay, so there's the first card in this Class to Go kit. Very pretty. I just love those colors together. Now, the second card in this Class to Go kit is this one here. I tried to change up the colors quite a bit, and I tried to go with those more kind of traditional bright pinks that I find with peonies, but I also just loved it plain white. But I'm going to show you in the card that I make a way that you can change it up a little bit if you want to. So you can make it plain white like this, or you can make it with a little bit more of a bright pink sponged look too. Okay, so let's get started on this one. When you receive your Class to Go kit, you will receive supplies that look like this here. The base of the card is gray granite, and it is cut a little bit differently. This is 11 inches by 4 1/4, and it's scored at 5 1/2. So go ahead and give yourself a nice little score on that. The inside layer is a piece of Whisper White here, and I went ahead and took one of the sentiments from this stamp set, My Thoughts Are With You, and I did just like I did on that first card. I stamped it in the Night of Navy ink and put clear embossing powder over it, so it gives it a little bit bolder, darker look there. And then I'm going to pull in my Pear Pizzazz ink pad. And both these ink pads, the embossing powder, all those will be add-on items. But I went ahead, stamped it off, and then I just came in here and I did a couple of these beautiful flowers across here. And I just thought that was something a little bit different, a little nice for the center. Okay, sometimes we kind of forget about our inside piece too and don't do much to decorate them. So I'm going to go ahead, take my Stampin' Plus, come over here nice and slow, tilt it forward, and it breaks that off. Nice little run, tilt it forward, breaks it off. Okay? Be able to attach this to the inside of our card. Okay, there you go. All right, so we have our base of our card done. This white, you're going to have two pieces of white. They're basically the same size. One for the inside and then one is for out here. You're going to have a piece of Magenta Madness, one of the new in colors, and I ran it through the Dainty Diamonds embossing folder. And so, again, if you don't like that folder, don't decide to purchase that, you can use any folder to complete this card. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take my Stampin' Plus again and give myself a few little ribbons of adhesive. And I'm going to place this up towards the top. Uh-oh, that needs to be cut down 1/4 inch. Bear with me. Sorry. I mismeasured a titch. Handy dandy paper cutter. Right there handy for me. Okay, there we go. Perfect. And then you're going to also have a piece of designer series paper in your kit as well. And this one again, I'm 1/4 inch off. I'm so sorry. Thank you for being patient. I just want to make sure that we make this correctly. And then I'll go ahead and take my Stampin' Plus again. Tilt forward. Put a little bit down here. There we go. And that's going to go towards the bottom of my card. And then just because these two papers here butted up together, we can do something to kind of break that a little bit there. I have a piece of the shimmer ribbon that I threw into this kit as well. So we're going to take, again, our Scotch tape, and you're going to run the ribbon right around where that designer series paper connects with the Marvelous Magenta embossed piece. Make sure you're nice and straight before you attach these to the back here. Okay, and then I think I might go ahead and just pop some dimensionals on here. There's no reason why I can't before we get to making the beautiful paper flower that is in this bundle. Okay, that's going to get centered right here. One other thing I threw in on this card is one of the square doilies. And these, remember, vellum is sometimes a little tricky to attach. I don't want to necessarily just stick a bunch of adhesive on the back side of this. This is actually going to sit just about here. And so the flower is going to be laying on top here. And so I'm just going to put a little bit of adhesive right down towards the bottom. And I am actually going to choose the multi-purpose glue to do this. I feel like I can just come in here, hit or miss a couple little areas with it, and it will be plenty to have it hold. Okay. Make sure it's straight, and just kind of tap on those to get that glue to stick. Okay. All right, there you go. You have that. All right. Now, in addition to those items in your kit, you're also going to have two white pieces, one larger and one smaller. On the smaller piece here, you're going to stamp the leaves, and you're going to stamp 2 sets of leaves. And I went ahead and mounted those leaves on one block, just like this. And those are stamped in Pear Pizzazz and stamped right there on the scrap piece of white there. And then I also took the sentiment, so sorry for your loss, because this is going to be a sympathy card, and I stamped it down here this direction on the end, and there's a reason why I did that. We're going to use the tailored tag punch, and I felt like it squeezed in here nicely, and I could center that sentiment much nicer. Now you can see on my sample card that that punch out is a little big for the area that I want to place it. But I'm going to go ahead and use this punch anyway and punch that out. And then I'm going to take my paper snips And I'm going to come over here and I'm just going to give that a nice straight cut, all right? And then that's how that's going to get lined up here. This section here might be a little long, so I'm going to take my snips again over here. I'm not going to cut off too much of it. I'm going to cut off about that much, about 1/4 of an inch, and that way it will fit a little nicer underneath my flower edge there. Okay, so I have that ready. I'm going to set that there. And then for the sake of time, I went ahead and I have punched out the leaves too. And I have those here. So I'm going to put those over here on my card so that they're all ready to go. All right, now let's talk about this flower and how you make this beautiful white flower. So remember when I was showing you the dies, I showed you these kind of odd looking weird dies in this set. Okay, I'm going to place them with the cutting edge down, and this strip of white that you have in your kit should be plenty of paper to be able to cut out all 4 of these dies, and then even this little guy here, which becomes the very center of your card. Okay? You will put this on your plate just like this and run it through. And then I did this just to kind of show you what you're going to get. After it's punched out, this is what it looks like, and you're going to end up with these 5 pieces up here. Okay? So this white piece you can get all of these flower pieces for. Okay? Now I want to take an opportunity, since I have this out too, to show you those leaves. Remember those leaf dies? These little guys down here? Those punch out like this. You'll have a solid one, and then you'll have another little edge one, okay? There's 2 larger ones, and each of these are a little different, so you have to pay attention when you punch these out. One of them has 2 little dips out here, and this one just has 1. So pay attention to the one that you're lining up. There's a little bit smaller leaf, and this one I went ahead and I just attached that top piece to it. So you can see how when you use 2 different colors of cardstock, how you can achieve a kind of a double color look there with the leaf to really accent a little edge of it there. They're also really cute just to use by themselves. So I'm really liking these little leaf dies. But then also remember, in addition to these leaf dies here, you also have 2 little dies that will cut out these as well. And there's 2 sizes here. There's a larger one and then a little smaller one too, okay? So those I had already stamped on that same piece that I stamped my sentiment on, and used those little dies to punch these out, okay? So I just wanted to explain that to you and how you'll get all that. So once you run this through the Big Shot, you will get these pieces here, okay? Sorry for the glare of that light. Now, to assemble our flower, I'm going to pull these pieces off. That's what you'll get when you run it through the white. I'm also in your kit going to include a little small piece of Magenta Madness. And if you want to run that little small center framelit through with the Magenta Madness, you're welcome to do that too, to give your center flower that. I'm going to show you a little trick though too if you don't want to do that, okay? On the sample card, I have used the Magenta Madness cardstock here for the center, okay? All right, so that's why I decided to opt in and add that into your kit too. But this flower, remember, I'm going to create just a little bit differently to give you just a little bit more of a sponged or a colored look versus the plain white flower. And you're welcome to do whichever you want. I'm going to include the ink pad, and I'm also going to include the dauber as add-on items to this class. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to stick just a little blotter down underneath here. And I'm going to take these pieces. I'm going to start with the large one first because it's the easiest, I think. You can obviously see that this is the top of the flower and this is the bottom of the flower. I'm going to take my sponge dauber and my magenta, and I'm going to come in here and I'm going to add some color to the edge of that. Isn't that, oh, that pink is just glorious. And it is the pink, it makes me think peonies, right? All right, in addition to going all the way around that big one, there's a little slit in here that I'm going to separate, okay? I'm going to pull that out. I'm going to put my finger down between that just to kind of hold that piece back a little bit. And I'm going to come in here with my dauber and I'm going to ink up that edge a little bit there. Then I'm going to pull that bottom piece forward and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to come in here with that dauber and I'm going to color that, okay? Go ahead and color both of them. Okay, the next piece I'm going to grab, you have to learn which is the top and which is the bottom, I guess. And so this is the top edge of this one. You have that little spiky guy. He's going to face down. Maybe that's the easiest way for you to remember which way is down, okay? So this becomes the top of your petal of your flower, okay? Well, again, we're going to take our dauber, and I'm not going to go around this whole entire flower because this whole flower doesn't show like the larger one does once we assemble it. But I'm just going to go around down to halfway down these edges a little bit. Then I'm going to take that pointy part that I just talked about there. I'm going to push that back. I'm going to use my other finger to kind of hold it back. And then I'm going to come in here with my dauber, and I'm going to sneak in there and just grab the edge of that. Okay, so that I have the bottom edge of that cutout sponged. Same thing with this one. It's got a little pointy end here. The pointy end is facing down. So this becomes the top of your flower. And that's the part you're going to sponge. And this is pretty forgiving. I can come down in these little valleys a little bit, and maybe I can't get that, but I can get a little bit of ink down here. I can't get it way down in that valley, but it's going to be very forgiving. I'm going to push that little pointy part back and hold it with my finger that's underneath, and then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to sponge that edge there, okay? And then there's one more piece. Again, has a little pointy end here. That's going to be down. That's the bottom. So above that is the top of your flower. And I'm going to go ahead and sponge that one. And just down the edges there just a little bit. And then this one, just the nature of it being a little smaller, is a little harder to hold that little piece behind. But you can do it. And come in there and give that edge just a little bit of color with the sponge. Okay. Now this one, I am going to use the white inside. Like I said, you will be given the magenta if you'd rather use that, but I'm going to sponge this one. So I'm going to hold the tip of it here. I'm going to take my sponge dauber and I'm going to come over here. I just thought it was fun to have it completely match the other sponging on this flower. Okay. All right. Now those do take a little time to dry. They've dried a little bit as I've been working. And then that center one is probably the one that needs to dry the longest, and that one's the last thing we put in. So we'll just set that aside and let that dry. So I basically have my 4 pieces here, and you can see that they're different sizes, right? You can see that I have a small one, the next one, then this one, and then the large. So they graduate sizes here. I'm going to start out with my smallest one first, and I'm going to grab my second smallest one here as well. And that little slit that was created here, that little pointy down guy, goes back. And that little slit that was formed allows the bottom of the smaller section to slide right down in here, okay? Now, as you get that down in there, then you want to turn it over. And the best thing they invented and created with this flower is that these bottoms are all exactly the same design. So when I pull that down, I can match that bottom edge up perfectly, and I know exactly where those pieces need to fall, okay? So I'm going to hold them there. I'm going to take and separate them, though, just a little bit there, because I need to get a little bit of glue in here, and it really doesn't matter which side you put your glue on. You don't need very much, though. Don't go crazy, because it'll be ooping out all over. And you're just going to match, I hope the camera's picking those up, you're going to match those bottom edges up there and go ahead and press to hold them. Okay. And then you're going to flip it over. You're going to grab your next piece here. And again, you have that little pointy guy. That's going to go back. And down between that slit is going to slip this piece right here. You're going to take at this point, flip it over, and again, these edges are going to match up. Can you see how that matches up with the one underneath? And that's how you're going to know exactly where to put that flower. So I'm going to pull that up, okay, just like that. Hold it in place, put a little bit of adhesive in here just to hold it there, and go ahead and press firmly, knowing that those are all lined up along that bottom edge. And then my very last flower is just a little different in that, I think that's pretty just like that. It almost just looks like a rose like that, I think. Your very last piece is a little different. Again, you're going to pull that flap towards you. And I see something we forgot to sponge, but that's okay. This is a good lesson for you. Then this is going to get slid all the way down, and you can see right here and right here, those two little points are going to prevent you from sliding that flower down any farther. They get caught on that large flower cutout, okay? So you can't go down any more. So that's where that one sets. You know exactly where that one sets. There's nothing to line up on the back for that larger piece, all right? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull this little flap forward, and I'm going to stick just a little bit of adhesive behind here, enough to just kind of hold it. Again, over here, a little bit of adhesive, and attach that down. Now you can see on that third biggest flower, the bottom edge I didn't sponge, but luckily it's very easy. Come right in here with your dauber, and I can just go right along that bottom edge and give that a little bit of color. You can also look and see the rest of your flower and see if there's any places that you missed. And at this point, you probably could go in there and highlight them or color them just a little bit more with your dauber if you felt like you needed to. Now, to give this flower just a little bit more dimension and make it pop a little more off our card, I am going to take my bone folder, flip it over, and I'm going to go around this top edge a little bit with that bone folder and really pull those out. Now don't pull too hard that you rip it. You're going to be upset if you do that after all your work of assembling that. But it gives those outside edges a little pop. And then I'm going to come in here with my fingers and I'm going to work some of these little tiny petals towards me. Okay, isn't that gorgeous? I gotta get a drink. Sorry, I was getting dry and I thought maybe I'd start coughing. So go ahead and pull these forward just a little bit this way, okay? Now that's gorgeous like that, but of course we need our little center. And this is the guide that I sponged. I'm on the back side. I'm just going to add just a little bit of adhesive there. And I'm going to pop it down right in front there, okay? Now if you want to use a little different color, because sometimes peonies have kind of a yellow center too. If you want to make that yellow, you certainly could. Okay, and there you go. All right, isn't that gorgeous? Okay, so let's bring the rest of our card in here. I'm going to pull these leaves off because we're going to add these last, and we're actually going to add our sentiment last as well. So we're going to add our flower onto the card, and just to make this pop a little bit more off the page, I'm just going to put dimensionals up here at the top part of the flower. And then I'm going to put a little bit of mono-adhesive glue down at the bottom. And I think I shared this in another video. It just helps flowers, I think, lay a little nicer on the card. It makes the bottom part of the card flat down against the card, but then it also makes the top pop a little bit more. Okay, it brings the top part up a little bit, so it almost makes the flower on there just a little bit of an angle. Okay, go ahead and continue to work with those little edges and make it pop forward if you want. And I just line that up down there with the bottom edge of that ribbon. My sentiment here, I'm going to put a little bit of mono adhesive on, and it's going to slip right in here. Multi-purpose glue. I don't know why I call that mono adhesive. I just always have, but it's multi-purpose glue. I'm going to take one of the larger leaves and sneak it in over here. And as I hold it with this finger, I'm going to take this one and just kind of pull the edge of that leaf up a little bit, just again, to make it pop and give it just a little bit more dimension. I'm going to do the same thing on this one here. Hold it and bring that forward just a little bit. And then put some leaves on this side as well. And then I'm going to pull my first card in and let you decide after I get some of the great little elegant faceted gems on here. I stuck one up here next to the sentiment to take your eye there. And I have just a little bit of a sparkly one there and a clear one. Throw here. And then down below, right there on that beautiful DSP, I went ahead and threw a couple more down here, okay? I always think you should have odd amounts. I have 5 of them on there, okay? Now let me bring my original sample card in and you decide which one you like the best. I thought the plain white one was stunning too, but I do like that you can use a dauber and sponge and get a little bit more color out of that flower as well. So obviously in different colors too. I love the Magenta Madness though. I think this looks really pretty. But obviously when you get your kit, you can make whichever one you like the best. Okay, these flowers I think are really therapeutic to make. So while there's lots of pieces to them, they don't really take that long. And you really get some fun little looks with these. So these are the cards that go with this Class to Go kit. I hope you've enjoyed watching me create these cards. I think this is a record. It's my longest video. But these peonies do take a little time to make, but I think they're well worth it. So if you would like to consider purchasing the bundle, this class kit here to make 2 of each of these cards would be free to you with $3 of postage, or you might even consider buying the suite of products because I think everything I showed you today is definitely nice for anybody's stamp stash. So anyway, thank you for joining me today. I appreciate your time. Take care.